How's it going, guys? And welcome back to the Q&A. Today we're joined with Mod Ronan,
Hello.
Mod Ash, Mod John C, Mod Reach,
Hello.
and myself. Mod Matt K is not in today, so let's just jump right into it. First question from Gecko2007. Could we have a test world for some content before it goes live? Like a beta.
So RS3 has something of the sort and has been using it to great effect. The thing is, to administrate all those servers in addition to their main servers, they're effectively doing twice as much update work all the time.
Right.
And the amount of time we spend dealing with updates and the admin for updates and the repository merging associated with updates, frankly, if we doubled all that, it would really cut down the amount of time we've got for developing anything. Now, we still try and do that kind of thing when we can. We've had players come to the office to play with the God Wars, for example, before that came out. We tried to arrange something similar for Clan Wars. Unfortunately, it was exam season and no one was free. But it's something we would like to do more of if we ever can. But for the moment, it's just not something we've got the time for.
Right.
There's potentially room to explore something like that with the continent next year. Obviously, it's a very, very big update, and whilst we may certainly get players in to play around with it internally, they can't obviously stress test as much of the content as an entire game could. Obviously, we could just do that ourselves, but I'd expect that we'd be trying to do something like that for the continent next year.
Fair enough.
Certainly worth a try. And we managed something of the sort for Corp so that it could be tried out at RuneFest.
Yes,
Right,
we know
right.
beta servers are possible.
Yeah,
Yes.
cool.
We just note that the amount of admin we had to do to get that in place for RuneFest was considerable. And if we do a lot of that kind of thing, it will eat into the amount of time we've got for developing anything.
Right. And since everything's pretty much pulled, they can't really expect any surprises that they wouldn't have, not gotten to test, but at least known about.
Certainly for big updates, it becomes more worthwhile. Given how many of our updates are just a right-click option here and there, not so much.
Right. All right, next question. This one's from a Peckish. Could using bones to peaches on big bones / dragon bones create large or giant peaches?
Well, it would make sense for them to scale, I guess.
Why not?
It's not. There's no reason why it couldn't do that.
You
Would that be
didn't ask
something
for humongous banana.
Would we pull that or just...
Yes.
We'd pull
okay.
that.
Yeah, it's new.
I'd like to see it. We don't really need to pull that.
Are
Well-
they asking for additional healing or just
Of course.
bigger peaches for the
No,
sake
you
of
eat,
the
you eat a
peaches?
giant peach. That's like at least
What, double?
15 health?
How much is a peach shell? I can't remember.
8.
8. Oh, doubling it would be a bit much.
I think whatever it is, we'd pull it.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, the inventory icon, the peach you've already got is about the size of the grid where you can draw the inventory icons, so it wouldn't actually show in your inventory.
You got to think about the sacrifice though. With like dragon bones, they could heal a lot because they're worth a significantly more amount than normal bones, right? So they could be justified. All right. Next question. This one's from Pandifer. Can we get it to where if we get a skill cape, we can keep it untrimmed and still get other 99s?
I'd love to do that, but there's a couple of kind of prestigious untrimmed capes, and those that worked hard for those probably wouldn't appreciate the change.
That's what I was kind of
Yeah, it's Slayer's the obvious one. I guess hit points to a certain extent, and for that reason only, probably not.
Now, one of the popular requests we had last year was we do that, but we say that the only cape that can remain untrimmed is the first 99 you got.
Okay.
Unfortunately, since we have no way of tracking which one was the first 99 you got, we can't do it.
All right. There's your answer. Next question.
It is possible to keep an untrimmed cape, though.
And they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is difficult.
And when we accidentally fixed it, we had to unfix it again.
Yeah, by popular demand.
We were
All
very
right.
happy to. We hadn't intended to fix it.
No.
Okay. Next question. This one's from Fishio. Will we ever see item lending like in pre-EOC? Sorry. Maybe an option with like the trading post.
We could certainly do it. It didn't take very much engine support, so Ian could knock that in for us probably quite quickly.
Yeah.
However, the effects on the economy were substantial, with people now buying to rent and not wanting to part with the item permanently.
Right.
So we could do it. Some people would like the effects, some people may not want the effects.
I
Take it or leave it.
personally would not see that ever getting close to passing.
It never looked like a 75% thing.
Yeah.
I don't see it requested enough.
And there come the no's. All right, next question. This one's from Maxius. Are you going to be updating any more drop tables similar to like what you just did with the King Black Dragon?
I'd like to do the giant mole at some point.
Yep.
Nothing else on my radar. Oh, Dark Beast, I think, are on the list slightly.
Hellhounds spring to mind.
Hellhounds, yeah. They're the 3 ones that come up the most often. Nothing else really
All right,
in the pipeline.
fair enough. So Hellhounds and what was that? Giant Mole?
Giant mole and Dark Beasts.
And Dark Beasts. All right, there's your answer. Cool. Next question. This one's from Bill Godey. The Dragon 2H is dropped by some of the most powerful monsters in the game. Could we see an add-on to the game, or sorry, to the D2H, if I can speak today, similar to the Tentacle Whip?
Sure, just what would you like it to do?
It's really got quite a nice area effect, special attack. It's not particularly strong.
It has very niche
Yeah.
uses, but it's a level 60 weapon. They generally do have niche uses.
What about reducing the amount of special that it takes?
We could just do that anyway, to be honest.
Yeah.
Be okay with that.
I can think of a few things I'd like it to do, but then I'm not entirely sure I'd reserve those to a level 60 dragon weapon.
Exactly. There's only so
Or-
much we can do with it without.
I mean, you can enhance its special attack to maybe have a obviously when you pummel the ground, it could travel out and catch people at a certain distance instead of being nearby, so you could actually see the sort of spot on him follow a player. But
Okay.
I would be inclined to leave that for a new weapon or something. I wouldn't put that on a dragon two-hander.
As far as anything like a cosmetic upgrade, similar to the stuff that we've offered for
I
the
like
Grand
how it
Mall,
looks,
though.
to be honest.
Yeah?
I'm not keen on updating some of the previous dragon weaponry, to be fair.
Okay.
I think it has,
Valid
like
point.
you say, it has this little prestigious, icon to it, so
Okay.
it's not a good idea to really play around with that.
There you go. Next question. This one's from Captain RGB. Have you determined if any player suggestions will be making it into Zaya?
Almost certainly nearly everyone I've got so far has been really, really good. People are still sending into me now. I still get tweets every day saying, is there going to be an achievement die for this area? I consider this weapon for this town that I already know about because I've already told you. Or I've demonstrated it in some devlog or live stream somewhere. Almost certainly every suggestion I get is up for consideration. Almost most of them will make it in because there's so much land space. I'm not really the one to fill it all with my imagination.
Right.
There's enough people out there that have good ideas and that can fill the void.
So there have definitely been some solid suggestions.
I've had some
so
really
far.
solid suggestions. I mean, I keep referring back to, I think it was, is it Eliux Island?
LAX Island, yeah.
I always struggle to remember the exact pronunciation, but absolutely fantastic island. Like, I think that came with a story as well and some lore. Yeah, sure, definitely. I've had a lot of people suggest mini games. There was a thread talking about making the Colosseum idea that we proposed, not just a second duel arena, because no one wants a second duel arena. They want it to be
Right.
some sort of Hunger Games style arena. I really like that idea. I don't think we can rip off the Hunger Games, but I think we can do something to that effect. It shouldn't be considered the next duel arena or another duel arena.
Yeah.
The idea really was for it to improve what duel tournaments was. Some people enjoyed them, but they really weren't very good. So I think the idea initially was to just do a better version of duel tournaments.
Certainly, when you don't have to worry about a trade restriction or any of that
Yes.
stuff, you can make dual tournaments a lot better than we could have
Yeah.
done in 2007.
I mean, ideally, I'd like the Colosseum to remain a sort of a Roman theme
Right.
with how it functioned originally and historically, but there's no reason why we can't adapt that to do something like the Hunger Games.
Cool. I love the idea of the Hunger Games in RuneScape. It's similar to the whole Iron Man feel, but you get to kill each other.
Yeah.
I have
All
not
the
seen
time.
those movies, but I like the sound of it.
Great books.
All right. Next question.
Winner takes all.
This one's from the Real Doc. Can the Bounty Hunter shop have a reward that can ensure your untradables? An example would be maybe 100 mil points would ensure a void set.
I think he's mentioned that idea to me before. I quite like the idea. However,
100 mil points, like that's
I
not
mean,
something to mess with.
is this insurance permanent or is it lasting up until the point you lose it?
For 100 mil, I'd want it to be permanent.
Right.
But it's got such a huge cost with it that would anyone really bother?
It would be
Because
a
those 100 mil
controversial
points,
topic,
you
yeah.
think how many times are you going to lose void
Right.
in a lifetime? Those 100 mil points would serve you better than the time it would take you to get your void back.
Fair enough.
A few weeks back, we ran that poll inquiring whether players would like us to do something about untradables being dropped in the wilderness. The answer wasn't very strongly in favour of us changing it at all.
Right.
So we haven't been looking very hard for ideas of how to change it.
It would be quite useful with getting more people who maybe didn't do much PvP into Bounty Hunter. That being said, Bounty Hunter is already still doing very well.
It is, yeah.
So not really necessary maybe at this point.
I think one thing that people are quite concerned with in that respect is stuff like pest control and barbarian assault not getting enough traffic.
That's very
and
true.
Finding it hard to complete games, so I don't
Yeah.
necessarily think that pulling people away from there is the best way of going
That's a good
about
point.
it.
All right, next question. Examine noob. Will the ranging safe spot at the Skeletal Wyverns ever be removed?
Not without a pole.
Not without a
That's always been there.
Is that a big concern for you guys? Leave a yes in the chat if that's a huge deal, if that should be fixed ASAP. All
We
right.
certainly could poll it, although if we polled a thing like that and it got 75%, I'd be quite impressed.
Yeah. All right, next question. This one's from DolanRS07. When will you leak some more achievement diary requirements?
I'm planning on doing it over Christmas. I mean, now I've got this week's update out the way. Snake Boss is more or less with Ash and Gareth now. I can
Okay.
Focus on achievement diaries spaced out there.
So over
get those
Christmas-
finished, and yeah, once I've got them finalised, I'll start leaking them.
I mean, we leak them occasionally every day anyway. I get the occasional tweet saying, I'm working on smithing right now. Am I too high? Should I stop? At which point you might
Am I too high?
might tweet back, you're nearly there, 1 or 2 levels to go, blah, blah, this, that.
Right.
But it is worth noting that everything that's been done so far is still subject to change.
Yes.
True. Okay. So if they were to try to find these requirements, where would they go?
Follow us on Twitter. I'll probably think we're planning a video as well at some point, maybe.
There's also a thread on the RS official forums where they're collating everywhere that we've confirmed or denied any tasks that they've suggested themselves. I think we've actually confirmed so far that the highest requirement is 91 runecrafting.
They're for runecraft.
Yeah. or for runecrafting, yeah.
But like I said, they're likely to change. You can work them out. I mean, there's only so much content at very high levels in every skill. So.
Okay. There you go. All right. Next question. This one's from SweatX. When will we be given the poll to choose the snake boss name?
It's out now, and it will have a news post up regarding that tomorrow. I believe there's already a very clear winner, though.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think
what
it's
is it?
Zora,
Yep.
Zora or something.
Zura.
Zora. I don't know if I've got that correct.
That's way
but
better.
I don't know how else you probably would say it.
So that's what I
I like
voted for.
Ash's pronunciation much more.
In a game with no voiceovers, it's really quite immaterial.
So again, guys, you can actually vote on that right now. Just head to the RuneScape homepage. You can find that link,
Or your nearest poll booth.
or your nearest poll booth.
It was
right?
pretty surprising how fast that shot ahead. It
Yeah.
was within the first 50 votes. It was like
It was like a guy with like 100 accounts was just like, yes, this is my suggestion.
What I find more amusing or more amazing is how many people suggested Slytherin, Nagini, Voldemort, Lord
Skill specs.
Anaconda, and Serpius.
And skill specs.
And skill specs. They came up a lot.
We had something like 1,200 entries, and we probably wrote
Yeah.
off 800 of them for those reasons.
Yeah.
It was pretty entertaining to see that some people did just submit Lord Voldemort
Yeah.
as a name for
I
the
think-
snake boss.
I remember getting.
I'm
I
sure
remember
we can
reading
we can get away with
Anaconda, and underneath, how about Lord Anaconda? Let's title it.
All right, this one comes from Bodhi, and he's asking for a toucan pet.
A toucan.
pet.
Is this the latest meme thing that's going around? Simon and
I
James are
just read it in
laughing
the
at me.
chat, and I was just like, yes, we're
New
asking
craze
this.
or
Are
something.
you knocking memes, John?
No, I just don't really
Isn't
pay
there
attention
actually
anymore.
a toucan already?
No, we've got pelicans. We don't have a toucan.
I can't remember.
Pelicans? Where?
Like maybe like the
North-
turkey, like the strange
East
chicken,
Karamja.
like a
What
strange
bird am I
pelican.
thinking of on Karamja? Which
Pelican. Northeast.
It might be a pelican. I'm sure. Okay, it might be a toucan. I don't know. It might be a pelican.
If we
Almost
don't have
lost,
toucans,
we'll
we
confirm
need
that.
them, and we need a toucan boss, and then we need a pet from the boss.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And the 3 can. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't really kept up with what this whole toucan thing is and why a toucan.
All right. Next question. This one's a real question from Sir PVM a lot. Can you make a hunting minigame using mammoths and javelins?
You know, we actually discussed this way back when we discovered we had the mammoth models
Yep.
around our birthday in February.
What we do
And,
with them.
Yeah, I think we went with something along like spears and javelins. You can force a mammoth back in some icy area, and then a boulder would fall on it or something.
We looked into how sort of ancient man and Neanderthal and whatnot would slay a mammoth.
We put genuine research into
Yeah,
it.
we went back and we found that they usually lure them into a pit and then drop a boulder on them. And we thought for a while, could we do this? But bearing in mind, we didn't really have a graphics artist at this point, so we couldn't make an animation for a boulder falling and
Or a
crushing a mammoth.
Blood splat. or
Exactly. Oh, we
anything
could get the blood
violent.
splat, I think.
I don't know if that'd be
Push.
terribly smart.
Well, you got the unicorn
Peed on her
in
back?
Underground Pass. that
That's the
gets
closest.
splattered.
That's the closest thing I think we got to finding a blood splat. But I think in the end we decided that that's probably not a good end for such a
Little gruesome.
for a mammoth. And
Yeah.
we weren't really up for making a new hunter requirement. So in the
Right.
end we just plastered them over the wilderness in the wilderness update. I think.
That being said, I would like to do some higher level hunter
Yeah.
changes.
Cool.
There's a fairly large gap at the top of the hunter skill that we can fill.
Yes, I think it was always envisaged when Hunter came out that there'd be more Hunter things in
Yep.
future. And eventually RS3 did 1 or 2, like the Grenvils and the Poyas, which we have not got.
And then the Judinkos.
Oh, yes.
You could almost mix Hunter and Slayer together a little bit there, where they'd be giving you a task. Like,
Well, it'd be
go
hunter
hunt.
or slayer, wouldn't it? You can't hunt it and then slay it.
It would require some combat interaction for sure. which-
Certainly, it shouldn't take high-level Slayer to kill something you've got in a box where you can probably do anything you like to it.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, I can hit a chinchomper without having to put it into a box.
Sounds like Slayer. Right. All right. Next question. We have real questions. This one's from Bbum. Is there any way you can make it so that the wilderness can drop tier 1 emblems? Sorry, the wilderness bosses can drop tier 1 emblems.
We did discuss
Done.
this.
Didn't we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're 1 in 12 from the 3 big bosses, 1 in 50 from the 3 demi bosses.
There you go. This was the concern for Iron Men who don't want to do Bounty Hunter.
Yep.
On the Bounty World only, yeah.
Yes, they're only on the bounty worlds.
Oh, so they are only on World 18.
Mhm.
Okay, there you go. Next question. This one's from Histy. Could you consider adding an ability to get more monsters in a Slayer task?
Yeah, you can unlock that for some, and we've got a couple of other requests lying around. that will
He's
bundle
requesting
them.
for Myth Dragons in specific.
Yeah, that one comes up a lot. Probably
Yeah.
bundle it with a load of other Slayer updates some
Yeah.
point next year.
Mythical Dragons, I think you already can, but not by very much.
Yeah, I think we knocked up to like 15 or something.
Something of the sort. We tried to work out how many inventory loads it would take you to survive these things, but we still pitched it quite conservative. We could go insane with this without too much trouble.
Okay. Next question. Black Santa hat. That's it.
We've made one. It actually exists, but I don't think we ever launched it.
I think in Halloween 2013, we started talking about a black Santa hat, and the response at the time was, why would we want one of those? It'd be stupid, so we didn't. And then, come Christmas, they actually did start wanting it, but by then it was too late for us to do anything about it.
Yeah, no, I think as the conversation actually went, RS3 wanted to do a Black Santa, and I don't think we wanted to cross. We didn't want to cross the same rewards, so we
fair
let
enough.
them have the Black Santa hat.
What do you
And,
guys think in the chat?
We can have a Black Santa. It already exists. It's just
Straw
a matter
poll.
of releasing it to you.
Can we straw poll a Black Santa hat? Curious to get your opinions on that. It can happen if you want it.
Yeah, I think we went with the rainbow party hat instead,
And the black party hat.
and the black party hat. Yeah, we gave them a black party hat instead of the rainbow, the Black Santa hat. Sorry.
I guess that is the kind of thing we'd have done if they said, we're doing a black Santa. Was it fine? We'll do a black party hat. Why
Yeah.
not?
That does sound like the sort of thing we would sit there thinking, okay, we'll do that then.
Yep.
All right. Next question. This one's from Purify RS. And he's asking for Old School Runescape desktop wallpapers. He was actually asking for the Christmas one in specific that Mod Ghost just made. If you could have something like that for a desktop wallpaper.
I'm sure we can make that downloadable. For
We-
some-
Which-
Did we not just do that?
Yeah, we tweeted that out earlier today.
Okay, there you go.
On the Old School Twitter,
Yeah.
there is a tweet there. There's an attached image, which is actually a downscale version of it, but there's also a link inside it. It's pretty hard to see because of all the links in there. But yeah, click
Keylogger.
it, bit.ly link takes you to a Google upload thingy of it, and you can download it.
Okay, cool. But aside from just this Christmas event, other RuneScape related, or sorry, Old School RuneScape related desktop wallpapers, Mod Ghost has said that he will more than do that. In fact, we were thinking about for a contest, possibly some signed concept art in there for something like that. Maybe players could try to draw their favorite J mods, and the best one got some really awesome
There's
concept
going to be a lot
art.
of fun ones of Ash, I know that for sure.
I think we come up with a better competition than that.
Okay.
It does
Well.
seem a little bit more like what you do in a primary school, that one.
We did
Hey.
find some old concept art when we were trying to get some stuff for RuneFest from around about the 2007 era. I think it was more to start 2008. There's a lot of Wild Gothic Sleeps concept art there as well. So we do have some old school-esque themed concept art lying around that we can get printed off, put on websites for downloadable wallpapers, and even sign and send to people should it be necessary. So it does exist.
What about
Shy of Gareth drawing anything.
sorry? What about something like whoever could kill the snake boss the fastest could get a snake boss concept art, something like that?
Well, we have Snake Boss concept art. So
We'll certainly be tracking who first kills that thing.
Yes,
Definitely.
and I was planning on adding a timer as well. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. I missed what we had for the Black Santa hat. Did it pass?
I don't think we've even opened it.
It's never been polled.
Wait, here we go.
Oh wow.
It was a resounding yes.
That's all right.
That's
for
a
sure.
76%.
Christmas 2015.
Looks like it.
76-ish.
Black Santa hat. Definitely a possibility.
Cool.
All right. Awesome. Next question. This one's from MenaceMan22. What will the minimum requirements be to kill a snake boss?
Minimum regicide. That's it. It's you'll walk in and die, but you'll be able to get there. To actually kill it, you would need high combat to be able to pay attention, have decent reactions, and
Okay. Well, we have a similar combat stats, I imagine, for the Court Beast. A little bit less, maybe.
sword to be decided.
Okay.
Until it's actually started development properly,
Okay.
we can't really decide that.
Not too terribly high, not too terribly low.
You'll be able to access the snake boss as long as you've completed regicide. That's the only direct requirement.
There you go, guys. Get going. All right. Next question. This one's from Skill Specs. XP drops. Again,
Comes up a lot, doesn't it?
it does.
Every
Certainly.
week from Skill Specs.
Yeah. Well, the answer is yes, we could do them. However, that's not a small job, so if we're doing that, we're not doing something else. And so far, we've never chosen that over the something else.
Fair enough.
But it's something I would like, partly because if we did XP droplets, it would give us a chance to build in some of these, tracking things for how much XP people have gained lately, or how the close they are to a goal. Maybe let them set their own goal rather than always showing it to the next level. We could build quite a lot of those things into an XP droplets update. It's relatively easy once you've got the hard bit will be getting the droplets to fall down and be toggled on and off and not be in the way.
All right, but in terms of like an XP dropper taking priority or something like resizable mode or Zaya, not likely.
Yeah,
Quite.
I mean,
Right.
it's a quicker job than resizable mode and Zaya. However,
Right.
they are much more important jobs than. If we're halfway through development of either continent or resizable mode, we're not likely to jack down tools just to give XP drops.
Right. Another question that's asked a few times. This one's from Chocobo Drumstick. Will God Eggs ever have a purpose in Old School?
This comes up every week as well.
Yeah.
Yes, as soon as we have a half decent idea, we'll think of some way to make them useful.
Had somebody asking for God cakes the other day, where you use the God egg
that
to,
was a big one.
Yep, and you eat it, and it gives you immunity from that kind of God's followers in the God Wars dungeon, which is awkward for Gothics, and also some skill boosts temporarily.
We
We
don't.
could.
We don't have the full set of birds from the summoning update in our archive, but we do have some of them. I think the first
I
stage,
think we've got the first and the final stages.
first and final stages. So we could, in theory, to some extent, deliver the existing or the previous birds that you got from
but
them. When
then
something
you
came
can
out.
only use one, and you get a lot of them.
Yeah.
I'd rather it was
But,
just something simple like a rare egg collector somewhere planted on the map and
Like
gives you
Zaya.
something useful for them.
Or somebody trying to populate Zaya with birds.
Yeah, maybe he's
Yeah,
nice and gives
mate.
you 20 nests per egg.
That's the advantage of something like a continent. We can solve a problem like that somewhere else.
Yep. All right. Definitely not a no, though. Next question. This one's from Rocktail. Any chance we'll get to see something like super combat potions for magic/range? And maybe an option to add the two to the super combat potion, essentially being an overload, I guess.
Super magic would be completely useless, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Run for range, I could just do range and defense.
Okay.
Or just
That would
have
be a good
that
one.
added onto the super combat potion. I don't have any concerns with that.
A range and defense potion sounds ideal.
Yeah,
I would like that.
I'm sure we
Let's
can
do it.
do that. I might already have put that on the wish list.
Awesome. Okay. Next question. This one's from Salad RS. Could you add a broadcast message to the entire Castle Wars themed world when there's 5 minutes till the game starts? That was a great idea.
We can.
Yeah? To help kind of populate Castle Wars a bit more.
I'm not aware of any engine feature that can currently do that, but
No, not across,
we
not
could
across
get
the world.
Yeah.
if we get in on it, then we can probably get that kind of feature.
Okay. Possibility. Would be a good idea. I'd like to think of more ideas to help populate Castle Wars a bit
Oh,
more.
yes.
Definitely.
Maybe even trouble brewing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Solid
definitely.
idea.
Definitely trouble brewing.
All right. Next question. This one's from the Minescaper. Will we ever get to see an upgrade to the Motherlode Mine reward shop? He has a request of something like a gem rock that can only be mined for 45 seconds.
Divine Gemrock.
Yeah,
This is what it sounds like.
pretty much.
Sure.
Letting you spawn a piece of scenery like that, which players would not be able to walk through, is always a little risky, because all you need is 5 trolls to do it across the entrance to the Rock Bank, and we've got a very amusing day ahead of us. But yeah, we could do something of the sort if we were careful where we let you put it.
Okay. Next question. This one's from Am I an Iron Man? Could we see Glaciers with boot drops? Also, perhaps a staff with a special attack that we mentioned last week.
Oh, I wonder where you got that idea.
Glaciers.
Not the armor stuff.
Would be quite challenging to. Well, I'd rather give you the mechanics of Glaciers for sure. We can do that on any boss. It doesn't have to be Glaciers. And the boots, yeah, we can give you boots for sure. I'm not entirely sure about the aforementioned staff though, because that's very powerful. And if we start going down that route, I imagine we'll get a lot of.
I don't think they're
requests.
asking for the staff of Armadillo. We just mentioned a staff with a
with
special
Staff
attack.
with a special attack.
Yeah, I'm not. Well, I'm making the assumption that they'd also expect the staff of Armadillo, but we can give you definitely Glacier mechanics on bosses or monsters. Or we can definitely give you boots that have similar or the same stats. Nothing to stop us really from doing that besides you voting on it.
I remember when we first started talking dragon boots, a lot of the dissent at the time was from people who didn't want dragon boots to devalue rune boots and make high-level Slayer less valuable.
Right.
We pitched at the time that we could drop something that converts rune boots into dragon boots and have that dropped in the God Wars dungeon to give you dragon boots, but without devaluing the previous sorts of boot. Didn't pass, so we did not do it. But if we start talking about Glaciers and their boots, I'd assume we've got the exact same concern again, only this time with all the boots in the game.
Rangers, Infinity, and Dragon. Best
Right.
slot.
So if we were going to drop that kind of thing, I'd want to resurrect the idea of dropping the thing that upgrades the existing item into the high-end boot,
Okay.
rather than just, well, making all boots useless except for these new ones.
Makes sense. All right. This is a question probably Ronan can answer. Can we see a list of RuneScape's login screens from the very beginning? Do you think you can manage that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's not been a huge number.
Not just for Old School, I'm assuming. I'm assuming this would date back to RuneScape.
Well, RS Classic, we can certainly find pictures, we can certainly find RS Classic knocking about, so we can get footage of that. Then there's the Old School login screen, the normal one, which lasted from 2004 through to about 2008, give or take the occasional holiday event and release of a skill. We have the construction one and the hunter ones,
Right.
and could in fact re-release them if we felt like it, or if you felt like it.
So we had the farming ones as well, I believe.
Oh yes, farming, I forgot about
The
farming.
summoning one would definitely scare them a little bit.
The summoning one, I assume, is knocking about in an archive somewhere.
Yeah,
I
it's actually my favourite
haven't
one.
gone looking for it, but I think it's there.
How many do you think we have in total from the very beginning?
I'm surprised it was more
Classic,
than 10.
standard RS2, construction, farming, hunter, summoning, and then we got into the realms of the HD update.
Yes, with the rotating background, the animated background.
Yeah, and
Then-
the static picture of somebody in a dark and a path going into the dark blue.
Yes. Then we had the Ariane one,
Oh yeah, that.
and now and then like 2-3 RS3 ones since then. So the RuneScape as a whole, at the very least, has had whatever 10.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that in a montage. It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's certainly possible.
Yeah. All right, next question. This one's from Enter the Fray 92. I remember Mod Archie mentioning a video tour of the Old School's team's area at Jagex. Can something like this still happen? Yeah,
Good for you.
actually. I've had plans to kind of integrate more personal, like BTS type stuff to, actually get real life footage of people like Mod Ghost modeling the Snake Boss or anything like that. But that's pretty much saved till January, so hopefully we'll see more of that stuff. But aside from that, our area isn't too terribly exciting.
No, it'll be a very short tour.
It would, like, here's the desks, here's the other desks.
They can see which of
All
us
right.
is messy.
Yeah. Which one of us is really simple?
It's not.
None of us are simple.
No, but you like your little corner of your little desk.
Oh, I do, yeah.
We'll also be able to see which one of us has a human-sized jar of pretzels that are out of date by a year.
You might need those. You never know when you might need things like
I
that.
I just have like apocalypse supplies. I've got absolutely everything in my desk.
And Nerf guns.
And then there's a very strange packet that I brought back from a visit to London, just labelled Rural Amorous Feelings.
I've kept that
Yes,
for
it
record.
tasted grim.
It really
Okay.
is. Oh yeah, and like Chris said, had a lot of Nerf guns.
A lot of Nerf guns. Next question. This one's from Max G Skills. Can we have the ability to right-click our Slayer Masters for a new task?
Easily.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did accidentally put that on Neve when I made that Slayer Master, but then I realised that no other Slayer Master had it, so I took it off. So it's definitely something we can add back.
Mm.
And it's only a few clicks, but I would like that.
Yeah, and it
Nice
is.
convenience.
I put it there for my own convenience when I was making it.
Yeah.
But then obviously I think you pointed out that your master has this, but no others do, so I took it off instead of adding it to all of them.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing we do traditionally poll before.
Yeah. It was purely for my own convenience, but it's definitely doable.
Speaking of polling, in the new year we are looking to do a big batch of Slayer updates like you guys voted for in the last priority poll. So I could well imagine that kind of convenience thing being in there along with the bigger requests.
Awesome. All right. Next question. This one comes from Mod Ash Lover 69.
What?
Will we ever
heard.
get more bank space in Old School RuneScape?
Yes.
Yes, you're going to need it very soon anyway with something like the new continent, so yeah, for sure.
I don't know exactly how much. What we're going to do is
601.
we'll try jacking it up a little bit higher and see if we can and see if that trips us over anything that seems to cause a crash due to the server processing too much.
Okay.
It's not the amount of memory that's the problem, it's the amount of processing it has to do when you rearrange your bank, deposit things, withdraw things, shut your bank, open your bank, or hit the deposit all button in your inventory. That's an expensive one.
I'm pretty sure we checked it up to 1,000.
I really can't... You know, if I checked up to 1,000, I'd have asked us to launch it with 1,000.
I remember doing it because we checked the prayer bonus limit at the same time because we were launching the Ring of the Gods.
I do remember it
I know
being
we put that
stress tested,
stupidly high.
but I can't remember for the life of me what the figure was.
Yeah, the scary thing, though, is that we tested the bank tab code before launching even the 600 thing, and there were overflow problems we had there that we didn't detect in testing, so we never did work out exactly how to stress it best. Anyway, we are going to have another go and see what we can give you.
Okay, cool. There you go, guys. Next question. This one comes from, again, Am I an Iron Man? Sorry, that's Am I Iron Man? Can we see something like the Jade Vine introduced to Old School?
Jade Vine, that was... it was our post-quest where you killed it once a week, like 5,000 player
Yeah,
experience.
Was it like 2008?
Yeah,
In
Probably
fact,
not
Back to My Roots was in development as of August 2007. There's a few references to it in the archive, but almost no usable stuff.
Okay.
Just a few signs that somebody, Mod Maz, was
Starting
working
with it,
towards a Jade Vine.
Well, there is some farming content to come to New Continent, so possibility.
It's definitely doable.
Basically, Gareth would have to remake the graphics or whatever bits of graphic we actually wanted, because the entire quest, maybe they don't need that, but bits of the Jade Vine we could probably do.
it makes sense now that it introduces the toucan.
Right.
Yeah. Word hits us from the powers that be is that Back to My Roots introduces the tenacious toucan.
Toucan.
Yeah.
Is it toucan?
Toucan.
All right. Toucan, eh? All right, next question. This one comes from OBLV Prime. Can the points offered from Barbarian Assault get a buff? Also, can you discuss the Penance Horn?
I think we'd like to do like another round of minigame changes next
I
year.
certainly would, yeah.
Barbarian Assault will probably definitely get a look in. The Penance Horn, whenever the bonus experience / free experience / double experience comes up, it never goes down well.
Right.
We can look at trying to scale it back, see if that's more popular, but I'd be surprised
Right.
if that was to pass.
Yeah. Not seeing too much support from that in the chat immediately off the bat, so yeah. All right, next question. This one comes from Juco7, another one that we've definitely never answered before. When will we see penguin hunting in Old School?
It's the same answer.
There you go.
Yeah. I like to do D&Ds. We do need some D&Ds, I think. D&Ds are long overdue. A lot of people have asked for them. Which ones you want? If you want a new one, do you want some existing ones? What do they give you? Is the XP too much? Do you want GP instead? The same old sort of story applies, really.
I think our favourite was the Shooting Star.
I really would like the Shooting Star back more than most.
I really like that.
So I think if we were to do it in D&D, I would try and see if we can get the Shooting Star one first. But again, that does boil down to whether or not you fancy the Shooting Star, or you just want the penguins, or you want something entirely new.
I like the penguins, just personally.
Just
Yeah.
please don't ask for the big chin chomper. I don't want to write that ever again.
Ian might say otherwise. Next question. Again, comes from Chocobo Drumstick. Will the chance of an extra ore on the Varrock armor... sorry, let me repeat that. Will the chance of an extra ore on the Varrock armor from the achievement diaries affect pay dirt? There we go.
I've plugged in all the rewards so far, and I haven't done anything with pay dirt yet.
I'd have thought it would, but I hadn't thought about it, to be honest.
Okay.
If you'd like it to, it can.
Yeah, it's
everything.
one of those.
That reward is already plugged in, and I don't remember at any point. I did it yesterday, actually, plugging in anything to do with pay dirt, but it definitely can do.
The motherlode mine code is a little unusual, but I'm sure you'll be fine.
I've dealt with worse.
I think you rewrote mining as well, didn't you?
Yeah, but I didn't touch any of the bit of where it gave you ore.
Rewriting mining was a huge godsend for this, by the way.
It was a really huge godsend when we did the pretty version of the dragon pickaxe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't describe spending 3 days mining as a godsend, but I'm glad that we got it rewritten.
Oh, trust me, I remember looking through the archive, looking at seeing how they did it before, just to have an idea of what I should be doing, and looked at the old code and then nearly cried. So I'm so glad you rewrote it, because it's really helpful.
All right.
You're welcome.
Next question. This one comes from Sejve. Will we see any new features added to Mauritania? It seems like with the addition of the Edgeville furnace, players won't have much need to go there anymore.
It's getting a new farming patch.
Awesome. That's exactly what it needed.
No, it will have
Achievement
its
diaries
diary.
giveth, achievement diaries taketh away.
Yes. I didn't actually know it gave a new farming patch. I'm slightly concerned now.
Oh, you'll be fine.
I
It's not
did
that
run it
hard.
past you, just very, very quietly.
Maybe.
All right. Next question. Sean asks, when do you think you'll be creating an entirely new holiday event?
Well, we don't have any more Easter events to recycle, nor Halloween events, nor Christmas events.
So,
Although the Easter 2005 event code is available to us, there wasn't really an event as such. You went to the bunny, you got a basket, you used it on 10 people, and they went back to the bunny. I think if we gave them that for a holiday event, they might not thank us very much.
okay.
So we have no more old holiday events to recycle, pretty much.
Awesome. Well, even so, using this 2005 event, we did add our own touch with the Santa versus Anti-Santa spawnable by JMods, which I was practicing with a little bit before the stream, and it was awesome. So again, well done to Mod Ghost. If you haven't seen that, you'll definitely see it if you're on RuneScape over the next couple weeks.
And that's pretty much what this. I'm looking at a green screen behind me, but I guess they see it differently.
Yeah, this is the work of Mod Ghost.
Yeah, this is it. I don't know why I'm looking backwards. It is all just green.
Fantastic.
But
And actually, might as well mention that we'll have some cool work. Not sure what exactly, if it's going to be modeling or showcasing some new stuff from Christmas and the Snake Boss. You guys get to see some sneak peeks of Mod Ghost doing all of that after the stream. It'll be at the very end, the last 10, 15 minutes or so. So anyways, getting back into the questions.
Having to think about other old holiday stuff that's available to us, we've got, of course, the Santa that gave out yo-yos in 2004.
Right.
Of course, that's just an NPC, you speak to it and you got a yo-yo. So I'm not looking to reuse that for anything. But we've also got the zombies from 2005 Halloween, which split in half down the middle when you talk to them. That's a very weird thing, but even if they didn't have a place to go, I'm sure we could find a use for their graphic in some kind of event.
Okay.
Bifurcating your zombies, got to do something with it.
Definitely. All right, next question. This one comes from Dream Mentor. Could we have a toggle to have potions shatter when emptied? I think a lot of
So you
people
just have to drop the empty vials.
Well, that takes work. Jeez. My only really thought when I think about this is that Jad, when you drink all those potions and you have the vials, like that's, where else is this very inconvenient?
This seems like the most arbitrary change in the world.
Yeah, it's like the most mild inconvenience.
I'm trying to think. A lot of people like separating their potions as well. I'm trying to think if there's actually any impact on things like that.
Sure, it probably would.
Do wonders for the vial market.
The vial market.
It's suffering right now.
Those damn vial collectors. Okay,
Let's just move on.
next question. This one's from 4213. What's the status on F2P coming to Old School? Well, as mentioned in today's dev blog, do you want to go through what you said?
Yeah, free to play is currently open to absolutely everyone up until December 31st. And throughout this period, we're going to be seeing how it does and using all of the information we gather over this period to kind of determine where we stand with free to play and Old School.
Yep.
And we'll be letting you guys know after it's all said and done what we figured out from the trial. But yeah, tell your friends, get them onto Old School across Christmas. It's a great opportunity for anyone who hasn't yet tried Old School that you might know to get in and give it a shot, see if they like it.
Definitely.
And then Mod Mac Data will go through the data and decide whether or not what we should do next.
So get all your friends to come and play for free and give him lots of data.
You know how much he likes data.
Hop
can
on
make
that
them-
free-to-play hype.
You can make a mod map conclusion.
Well,
Did
that
you
one
guys
already
look at a
exists.
spreadsheet?
Yeah, I've seen Mod Mac Conclusion.
All right. Next question. Oh, sorry. Might as well add. Also, there's a video on it. We've addressed free-to-play quite a few times. There is a video on the YouTube channel if you want to go back and watch that response. All right, next question. This one's from Merrick's. Is there any new information you can share with us regarding the raiding in Zaya? Will it be similar to dungeoneering, as in randomly generated mazes, or specifically preset maps?
So I referenced dungeoneering because dungeoneering is the closest thing to a raid we've got so far in RuneScape. I want people to forget the image of going into little square rooms and then progressively going into another square room, and another square room, and another square room, which are like 20 by 20 tiles. That's not the idea of randomly generated dungeons that I'm having. I'm thinking, like when you go down a ladder, for example, you don't know what scenery is going to be there. It could be a 64 by 64 tile area. It could be a 2 by 2 tile area. I want to generate huge map squares, not just small rooms, for a randomly generated sort of raid.
Okay.
I again use dungeoneering as an example because it's got some puzzles in it that you have to complete to progress. There's a boss at the end, theoretically, and you get loads of drops, you split it and do everything else. So dungeoneering is the closest thing we have to a raid in RuneScape. I want to take that sort of party element, that sort of puzzle element, and that random element, and sort of really adapt that and sort of innovate it into something much bigger. I raided. I don't play World of Warcraft. I know a lot of things in World of Warcraft. Raiding takes a lot of time. There's a huge party involvement. There are huge little demi-bosses that you have to sort of kill to complete and progress. Same with Destiny as well, for some in that fact. So I'm taking all the elements of things that I've experienced and other people have talked about, and I'm trying to sort of build that proper raiding, that proper tunneling, burrowing down experience. Huge bosses all the way through. Maybe 2-3 hour long events. Huge rewards at the end that split to the teams. Scaled, of course, and build generally a new sort of PVM experience. I think at the moment with God Wars, I think God Wars is probably the most challenging thing, if not Corporal Beast, that we got right now. you walk into a room, you fight a boss, you hit it a few times, it's dead, you get loot, you carry on, you rinse and repeat for like 3 or 4 hours, and it's just not really fun. So I wanted that progressive, I have to go and earn and fight through waves almost element, almost considered comparable to something like Jad, fighting through all those waves, but just a more immersive experience really.
Definitely. Mixing Jad and God Wars sounds epic.
Yeah, sort of raid design is, I mean, there sort of has to also be sort of a backstory to it as well. So there's a lot more narrative behind it than just putting NPCs in a room, fighting through them, surviving, going through a door, unlocking a key, killing a monster, picking up a drop and whatnot. That's not really the sort of raid design I'm looking at. I'm looking at a more immersive experience and something that really involves you, a team. So you have to consider your structure, you have to consider your rangers, your mages, your skills at the same time. I really want to sort of bring that to light. It is dungeoneering in a sense. Dungeoneering did it quite well, but I think we can expand on that and do it much better, really.
Just a quick question from the chat there. Will Ironman be able to take part in this?
Given all the
more
restrictions Ironman have, I mean, yes, definitely. If you are a hardcore Ironman, you've got all the stuff, you can go through it. There's nothing to stop you going through it. Naturally, if you die, you'll obviously have to suffer the consequences of that. If you get drops, you have to suffer the consequences of deciding what you want to keep. Yes, Ironman can go through it. Obviously, if a team is willing to accept an Ironman, or if you're just a team of Ironmen, yeah,
Right.
for
That
sure.
would be quite the accomplishment.
The one thing I do want to make Zaya is accessible to everybody. It's not this new quest-locked island that only high levels can get to. It's not that at all. I would like a quest to introduce it and promote it, yes. We've talked about this on the forums recently, but I don't want it to be exclusive to a particular class of player. It should be available to everybody like the current map is. There aren't really any areas of the current map that certain players can go that others can't unless it's quest-locked. But again, those are very far and few between, so I want to make sure that everything is as available to everybody as it can be. The only thing limiting you is either your experience, based on not your level experience, but your sort of playing experience, or maybe something's just too hard for you to do at your current level that you might have to level up for, but you can still access anyway.
Right. Awesome. All right. I think we're going to switch over to Mod Ghost in a bit here, but for the time being, do you have any more teasers you want to mention for Zaya? Zaya?
I'm working on my very last project up until the start of the Zaya development. So obviously once I've finished Achievement Diaries, which I should hopefully finish towards the end of January, and then I'll be delivering all 11 of those to you. Assuming everything goes fine up until the point John starts really narrowing down into the QA, I should be on full Zaya development. At that point, I'll be wanting as much input from everybody that can have any input, that has any ideas really, to send them to me. I'm more than happy to discuss through emails. We have our Old School community at Jagex mailbox. We have Twitter, we have Reddit, we have all sorts of social media posts. We have obviously Ronan monitoring a lot of the stuff that goes on Reddit. All of the stuff that comes through from Zaya comes to me already anyway. I'm going to be having our own internal discussions about what I think could be possible. Ian's already told me he's got a few ideas for building cities on sort of like nice hills and having it skew properly. Gareth's already come over to me before and says he'd like to draw this, he'd like to model that. He thinks this would be a nice sort of immersive experience if he could really give something this edge.
Yep.
So obviously I got a lot of the team wanting to deliver a lot more. I've also spoke to some of the RS3 team as well who'd like to sort of not come back to Old School, but do something for Old School because it's a really free design environment. They don't have this weeks upon weeks of designing something to really make sure it hits that little niche spot. With Old School, if people like it, if it works, if the community accept it, it just goes in. And that's obviously worked really nicely for us. So I'll be starting Zaya development at the start of January. At that point, anything you have, please send it to me. I'll be making sure I keep as transparent as possible, really, so make sure you all know what's going on. I know what you want, you know what I'm giving you, and everything works from there.
All right. Awesome. I think it's probably time to switch over to Mod Ghost to see something a little bit more interesting than our faces.
Oh, background's changed. I know I look behind, it's still green.
Okay, so today we're just going to be looking at some stuff from the Anti-Santa versus Santa event. As you can see on my desktop, we've got some artwork here that's created for mainly the marketing banners that have been done, but I've also made an ensemble here for you to download as your own desktop background. So without further ado, we'll get on, and we'll just go into the animator at the moment. So I'm going to need to run you through the basic animation process here for you to get some of the new stuff that I've been trying out. As you can see down the bottom, we've got all our animation frames. And I'm just going to run Anti-Santa's spawn animation just to give you an idea of the new style that we're going for now. So as you can see, there's a lot more smooth movement in this. And the reason that I'm able to do that now is because this is a model that's made from scratch and it's not got any legacy issues from the previous rigs. So if we go take a look at how models are actually animated, I'll need to select a model, and this looks quite intimidating at the moment because of all these labels, but each polygon will need to have its face labelled up. So if I just zoom in, we can just see here, we've got the upper lip. So what the animator actually does is it will recognise that particular label and draw a skeleton point to it. Now once this guy straightens up, you can see we've got all these skeleton points just here, which I'm able to create lots of. So the flame, his sack, are all joined into the same model, and they're all rigged up. Oh, sorry, excuse me. They're all rigged up with the same skeleton, basically. So that means we don't have to use what we called spot anims before to actually have this thing working, because spot anims will actually render over the model. And we can actually just check out some other animations. I'm just going to close the editor down because when we switch over to the model editor, rather irritatingly, unfortunately, it will mess up the render orders in that. So we'll just open that again. Cool. And also, of course, at the end of this conversation today, not only will we get the preview into these new animations, but we'll also get to see the snake boss, which is more or less finished now in 3ds Max. The colour scheme isn't fully decided yet, but I'll be posting on my Twitter account for you to actually have a look into that and see what you would suggest to actually use. So we'll just open up what are called base files. So basically that contains all of the information for the rig for particular NPCs that I'll create. So if I just go into our holiday events folder, see. Okay, here we go. So we've loaded him back up again. As you can see, we've got no nasty rendering issues. So let's just see what else we've got. Okay, so he's also got his victory animation for when he wins the fight against Santa. So you can see he's lifting his head off there. I'll just get rid of the skeleton. Okay, and you've also got a very cool death animation for him as well. So I'll just close this animation down. And his anti-Santa's death. There we go, he just dissolves into nothing and then sinks back into the earth. So Santa and anti-Santa all got these new animations. There's probably about 9 or 10 new animations for all of them. So once we actually kick this off this evening after the stream, you'll be able to see all of those and see the combat fight between the two of them. I'm actually just going to go onto, we can show you some Santa stuff as well actually. So I'm just going to close this down and just open the Santa base file, which is also a new NPC. So again, no more legacy issues. Let's just move this out of the way. Cool. Okay, so we've actually got a really cool sort of combat stance for Santa now. He's very animated and raring to go against anti-Santa, as you can see there. And as well as that, we've also got, I'll show you his attack animation as well. He summons a magic snowball to throw at anti-Santa. So this snowball, if I just open up the skeleton, is all attached into the same rig. So when it's not actually in his hands, you'll see it's actually sunken into the floor, scaled down and made transparent so you'd never be able to see it. So that's just a workaround. So we're basically like using old tech to just try and create something that's kind of new and fresh. This is another thing that we have in RS Old School. You can see just here that there's some of Santa that's actually rendering through the snowball. That's because that's what's called a render order. It's very difficult to actually decide or budget for how many different render orders you can have, because I've only got 10 to play with. But because the camera's up here all the time, we're never really going to see that. So I don't need to worry about that particular render order. Okay, so that's enough of his attack animation. We'll just show you his victory one, then we're done with Santa, I think. So he does a quick catter. That was a late night job. I didn't really fancy messing around with any extra models, so I just decided to just do a bit of karate for you. Then he vanishes. Cool, I suppose as well, we've also got new chat heads, which you probably saw with the anti-Santa. So I'll load up a chat head base for you. So just go to the folders again. So it'll just be in chat heads. Cool, there we go. So with the old chat heads, they didn't really have as many labels. I've kind of just rigged up extra things like around the eyebrows to sort of like raise up particular sections and sort of frown marks around here. So if I just open that skeleton, you can see all the points on the face. Now each of these points will have labels on the polygons, so we can move these all individually. So if I was to select this and just open an animation, we'll go for chat. You can see that I can actually manipulate these parts of the face now. So we can actually get some really interesting expressions going on. And also the jaws and the hood is manipulatable as well. So you can kind of do some interesting expressions just by moving the body and sort of making the torso lift up to show you things like thoracic breathing and things like that, which kind of just give another level of detail, even if it goes slightly unnoticed sometimes. So you can just see with these animations, the frame's a lot more expressive than you normally get with the chat head. So if we just run that through, he's not saying anything particular. I suppose you can make it up yourself as to what he's saying. But yeah, there was no intent to actually fit some proper words in there. And then we've actually got his laugh as well. I love this laugh just because some of the frames in there, which unfortunately get missed when you play an animation through, are actually extremely expressive. Like if we just go straight back to the start, you can see he raises his eyebrows right up like that. And you can actually see this real sort of like evil grimace when he brings his head down and starts cackling to himself. So it's been a lot of fun animating that one, and it's nice to sort of get to do something a bit special for you guys for Christmas. So that's everything that I'll need to show you for now. There's a lot more still to come. If you actually like play the game and have a look, then you'll be able to see all the exciting new animations. There's probably about 20 of them, like I said. But we'll take a look at the snake boss now. So this is the snake boss. There's bits of the model that are hidden, because I don't want to give away any of the combat sort of mechanics, basically, but there's a lot more to this snake than meets the eye that you're seeing at the moment. And the colour scheme's relevant, but again, I can't really say much about it, but the colour scheme will change, and that's all I can say. So yeah, on this as well, because again, it's a new rig, I'm going to use labelled sections to actually do very interesting things that I've not really seen done before. Like if we just select his lips, he can really sort of snarl at you as he lifts up his teeth now. So that's another sort of like interesting animation that we'll actually see like moving faces on the models themselves, not just on chat heads. And all of this, of course, will be sort of carried over into New Continent when I develop content for that. So I suppose I'm trying to create a slightly richer visual world for you guys as you sort of play the game. But yeah, just let me know with feedback on my Twitter account. It's at jagex_ghost. And we can actually discuss this snake model, see if there's any modifications you'd like made to it. We'll just take a look around the back as well. And yeah, just sort of give me some feedback on what you guys think of everything that's been going on so far. Thank you very much. I'll pass you back over to Chris and the guys now.
All right, that was awesome. I love seeing that, especially when it comes to like the snake boss, and you can just kind of see the chat's just like, oh yeah, all right, that's pretty cool. Whoa!
Mm-hmm. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And to think people questioned the hair.
Yeah.
The hair looks amazing.
That did look pretty awesome.
No, so it was fantastic having to test all the new animations that he's done for Christmas and the Anti-Santa and the Santa.
Yeah.
They were amazing. He's taken our graphics to a whole new level. So thanks, Gareth.
Yep. Well done, Mod Ghost. Again, you guys can leave feedback on his Twitter. That's at jagex_ghost. And you'll also be able to find the highlight of that if you missed any of that up on the YouTube channel later tonight. But aside from that, we're out of questions, so we can look to the chat for some questions now for our last few minutes here.
I saw one from Lethbridge Eye asking about Skippy on Tutorial Island. Now, when we brought Old School back in February 2013, there were a lot of people wanting to get through Tutorial Island very quickly. And for a few weeks, we put in a character called Skippy, who let you skip the tutorial. It was the same Skippy that you meet near Rimington, in fact. So we took him out after a while. Reason being, if botters can get an account into the game really quickly, then they can start botting really quickly, and that's convenient for them. By making them go through the tutorial, which of course they do bot, but by making them do it, it takes a lot more time to get in a new account into the game, so it matters more when we ban their last one.
Right.
So that's why we've taken Skippy out and why we're not looking to bring him back. We just don't want people making disposable accounts really, really quickly.
Fair enough. That's a valid point. There was a question in there for the raid asking how many people would make an ideal size party.
So I thought about this quite a lot, and I'm still not fully decided. I'm thinking minimum team size maybe 6, max team size maybe 30. The raid will
30?
Yes, the raid would scale depending on the amount of people that are there and their combat levels. So obviously if you have 30 people, the raid would be much harder. Obviously if you have 6 people, there's obviously going to be a set difficulty. 6 people, it would still be very challenging, but it would allow those people who are rather, I say, elitist in some way, who like the challenge of trying to take on the impossible challenge, to get through it as that minimum team size. So it's obviously going to be a set difficulty which will increment depending on how many people are in your party.
Awesome.
I'm still not fully decided on how that works yet though, so that again is still subject to change, and I'll still be deciding and talking to some other experienced raiders we have across multiple games that we have at the office to see what their best balance ideally is.
Yeah.
It could be interesting also if you did it with combat levels like you described, because that way it might be advantageous to go in with a pure, because that will contribute. You're quite powerful yourself, but you don't add so much to the combat levels that it's calculating difficulty off.
This is one reason I chose combat levels as opposed to specific stats, because obviously if we just choose melee magic and melee stats, it does leave a little bit of a gap for the rangers and mages that we might have. So again, if we focus it around about combat, it could be, as you say, advantageous to employ some pures.
Will the rewards be changing at all? If a 6-man party went in, would they get a better reward than, say, a 30-man party? Or
I'm going to say no,
okay.
only because the only real advantage you have to doing it as 6-man is you make, obviously your split would be much greater, and that you have the advantage of saying, we did it as a smaller team, it's more of an achievement.
Right.
I'm not going to be I'm not really in favour of really awarding smaller teams for doing it as their team size, because obviously they've made an awful lot of doing it in that team size anyway. But
right.
Again, that can still change depending on what people want.
Sounds epic. I can see a lot of like friends chats and clans opening up because of this. Nice.
It's a good expansion for things like the forums as well, being able to open up something. I'm going to use Destiny LFG as an example because I use that an awful lot. Being able to find groups and advertise certain positions you might have. I might even install checkpoints into it. I don't know yet.
Really? Checkpoints.
But I don't know. We'll see. But depends on how long I want the raid to be. Depends on if people even like that idea or not, and and sort of other contributing factors as well. But it's all up in the air still. I haven't actually started developing that raid yet. I've got one map squared down where I was just testing different sort of shaders and everything else like that. But that'll be quite later on. At the moment, when I start the continent, I'm starting the very, very, very start. How you get there. There needs to be a reason why you get there. There needs to be a reason for why it exists. There needs to be a reason why you're taking this particular route of travel to get there. What getting there means, what you do once you get there, how it's explained. So there's a really important narrative around the introduction and how you actually get there for the time being, which is what I'm going to be focusing on to make sure I really capture the moment, as it were, and nobody's really left in the dark as to why this big island has all of a sudden come into existence and why this is the only means of getting there. I really want to nail that down first.
Right. Sounds epic, especially with the checkpoints. I imagine people kind of wish they had that right now. They went and tried to kill Arma, only did half left. Maybe some other guy came and killed it, got the drop.
I can see it being used for Jad an awful lot. If someone runs out of supplies, they're likely to back out again. I don't want there to be
That'd be a little cheap.
I don't want there to be this culture of people making it easy for themselves by just backing out, come back in, backing out, coming back in.
Right.
I don't want that at all. But at the same time, I do recognise that if I do make it in the way that I've initially imagined it, it's going to be very resource intensive and probably not very fun if you're having that much trouble. So I want to sort of balance the challenge element with it actually being fun to do, which is always quite difficult because if things are too obviously we've gone for a culture of where things have been made easier. I don't particularly want to sort of follow that line. I would like it to be challenging, rewarding and entertaining. Very, very hard mix to get. I think obviously everybody wants that sort of mix done perfectly. Nobody's in sort of business of just making things easier for the sake of doing so. But nailing down that specific mix is going to be a challenge. So I'm going to do my best I can. And obviously, like I said, speak to the experienced raiders we have in the office in multiple different games, even my raiding parties and things like Destiny, and even people out there who might raid on particular games who like the challenging side of things and know a nice niche way of not making it too difficult for themselves.
Awesome. I saw a question there asking, what happens to the stream now that we're gone? Or do you want to explain the Christmas stream schedule?
Yeah, there's not going to be Q&As until January. And the community streams are not going to be on Wednesday evenings, but there's going to be an absolute ton of streams across Christmas still. We're going to be doing, I think it's about 10. Is it 10? Thereabouts.
We're doing a few, I know that.
There's a lot. It's going to be me, Chris, and Mod Matt K hosting them. So they're going to be at all times of day. I think I try to spread them out so that everyone anywhere on the planet will have a decent opportunity to go to one of these events.
Really,
at least.
really putting in some effort here. He's streaming at like 1 a.m. for some days.
Yeah, I think my through at 12, 1 and 2, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's going to be a ton of events and live streams over Christmas. Just keep an eye out on the Old School Twitter. Every time there's an event coming up, there'll be a tweet half an hour before and as it goes out and as it starts. And there's also the schedule for all of these streams in today's update post or in December the month ahead. So you guys can check that out now. And I'm actually going to be starting off one of the first stream probably immediately after this stream. So if you stick around on this channel, then you'll be able to watch that.
Awesome. So this is actually the last Q&A for 2014.
In fact, the snake boss will be out before we're sat back on this sofa.
That's the
Yeah.
plan.
However, like Ronan just mentioned, you can stay tuned as he'll have a stream after this for the next hour or so, I imagine.
Yeah, people are going to be able to get their hands on some Santas, crackers, party hats,
Yeah.
the lot.
Awesome.
I think what's amusing is I remember this time last year when myself, Ash and Matt were sat down in the other stream room with a nice present on the table saying goodbye for 2013 and everything we managed to achieve in that year. And I think it's important to remember how much we've expanded with our team currently.
Yeah.
Obviously, immediately after Christmas, we had John. Not too long later, we got Alfie. Not too long later, again, we got Ronan, then Gareth, who replaced the Alfred, and Chris, of course.
Yep.
2015 looks to
And
be equally as big for us, obviously, with things we planned. Whether we upsize even more, yet to know, yet to decide. There's room for it.
We know John wants a minion.
Yes, obviously we're advertising for an intern position for our QA
I forgot
as
about
well.
that.
Yes, I forgot about that too. I
Minion.
mentioned it as well. So it's important to remember how much we've achieved this year and obviously how much we've grown. We
Yeah.
potentially can do that again. Old School's not going anywhere. Obviously, I saw a lot of posts today saying numbers look low. They're not. We're fine. We're still here.
In fact, we've got
grown.
more members than we had at the beginning of 2014.
Exactly, a lot more. So
Sounds like 2013 had a nice goodbye for the year,
did.
and this year we had a One Direction cake.
And yeah, we're a bigger team, we're a bigger unit, and we look to achieve exactly the same things, if not, well, an awful lot more in 2015 as well.
Also, it's nice that last year, when all the scenery fell down while we were doing the big Christmas event.
The live stream
this
has
hasn't.
changed a lot since then. I mean, last year we had that sellotaped to the ceiling. This year we've got a green screen on a rail, courtesy of Simon and
And an entire
This is
streaming
actually
suite
awesome.
to go with it.
Yeah.
yes, not a webcam.
Definitely. So a quick final note here. You guys can actually stay tuned. The stream isn't going anywhere. It's actually not even going to go offline for a second. Ronan's going to hop on and take over. And that's about it.
Awesome.
Right, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year,
Yes.
and I'm dying for the loo. Can we please wrap this up?
Don't drink too much in New Year.
Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned.
See ya.
Bye.